To the People stage. We are so excited to have everyone with us today. We've got a wonderful next speaker up ahead, and I'd like to introduce and bring to the stage Lindsey Zindroski for what is sure to be a really wonderful presentation. Lindsey, camera on. And
hi. Great, you can see me.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for having me. Let me get my presentation up. Okay. Okay, how does that look? Can everybody see? Can you see it?
You're all set, Lindsey. Everything looks
okay. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I'm going to talk a little bit about Headway made an AM for creative and industrial professionals, people, applications, and partnerships that are leading us forward. A little bit about myself. I'm the chief executive at SNL Creative, beginning in 2012 as a product development company. I really spent 8 years growing my capabilities and my business into a boutique digital and manufacturing service provider. I've experienced design, prototyping, manufacturing of goods for luxury brands, toys, art collectibles, fine art, consumer products, automotive applications, themed entertainment, and film. I love working with creative applications because you can really find creative people across industries. I use a broad stroke of creative because we can certainly segment these different areas further. I wanted to start with some of the colleagues and my own career advancement that I work with and how I kind of got started. I started in product development, making products, new products, my own IP, which quickly led me into 3D printing and some of the skill sets that those skill sets that those bring in. So learning how to program builds, learning about different AM technologies and hardwares, AM applications and materials. So prototyping a lot during that time and learning more about the technology, and was really hooked right there, just with all the opportunities and things to learn. I really enjoyed that part of the business. I started working in 3D modeling with CAD softwares, understanding how to design for additive manufacturing, leveraging integrity softwares like Magix to prep files and optimize 3D prints and the relationship between all of that. Expanded into digital scanning as just the operation of the technology, the post software that's involved, the importance of digital assets. There are still a lot of people who make things, hand make things, layups and clay modelers, and how to kind of fold them into the digital data sets that we need to leverage 3D printing and drive efficiency in engineering processes. So that's been really fascinating technology for me to learn. You have to focus on the post-process when you're in additive manufacturing, and especially in creative applications. Creative applications are driven by aesthetic. So we're always looking at surface quality and fine detail. I get to, these are my model makers, learning about fit and assembly, surface finishing, and creating master patterns. I then wanted to discover more about production and reproduction. I had a need for that, so I learned how to RTV, mold and cast. That's a silicone mold and casting process. I took some projects into injection molding and started to learn more about the manufacturing capabilities there. And I really kind of got very interested in using additive manufacturing for end use parts, and how great it would be to do, mass customization, and pull parts off of the printer and put them into immediate use. And again, just this knowledge for materials, and how that plays a role into getting a good production part. Because a lot of my clients and a lot of the work that I do is in creative, finish matters. And so I have also a good deal of knowledge and skill set in paint applications, clear coats, plating, vacuum metallizing, and all of these sort of post-process paints, coatings that go into making something look beautiful. Throughout this sort of progression of my career in these different, these all-encompassing technologies that feed into 3D printing, I had the pleasure of working with incredibly talented colleagues and support networks that have mentored me and really trained me to learn these skills. Creative directors and brand managers, designers that are really driving design and aesthetic, and the industrial designers, the artists, digital sculptors, graphic artists, AM technicians that are implementing and leveraging AM and manufacturing technologies to deliver these beautiful products. I am nowhere without my colleagues in my support system, like my material suppliers, who help me understand materials, keep me updated on the latest equipment and materials available, my equipment manufacturers, educators, and business leaders in the field that I have looked up to and gained insight from, their unique skill sets as well. And I have a great appreciation for the post-process and the talent and creative individuals in model making, molding, painters, surface finishers, clay modelers, and machinists. There really have been important people in teaching me these skills from a work experience point of view. I'm going to talk about some of the applications that I work with and some of the advances for visual models. I do a lot of visual models. We have really gone from, we've really innovated in this area to single material to multi-material capabilities. This little chicken has a sort of soft PVC plastic-like shell, so we can demonstrate fit, function, play. We've gone from monochrome models that we would paint, finish, or look at a grayscale to color and graphic models. So this has been great to really fully develop and see how graphic plays out in a particular product and make it more real. There's been some good strides in software integration that helps in the creative field. So being able to design and directly print in color 3D models has made it really easy to leverage AM for visual models and do quick design iterations as well. You can lay down a texture, you can lay down a graphic, you can change your aesthetics very quickly and shoot that right to the 3D printer. So that's made a lot of headway in the advances for visual models and the capabilities that we can do. I think most well known is how some of the animation studios are leveraging colored prints for stop motion, is a great example of this technology that I leverage here as well. I use my AM technologies a lot in production aids. When I reproduce via, you know, fiberglass or plastic or silicone, it starts with a master pattern, and it's important to have a perfect master pattern because it really sets the stage for all your reproductions. I've used my additive machines for rapid tooling. Those are hands on the right, where we need to lay down, pull a lot of parts, or lay down specialty materials like latex. So we have 3D printed up our tooling in order to leverage it more widely and more precisely. I also use it for mold plates. So I will 3D print my mold plate and pour silicone into that. It gives me good consistency in replicating molds. Soft molds do degrade over time. So this is just a great way to expedite the setup pattern for that and drive consistency in the production pieces and the casting pieces. I just wanted to, these are also master patterns. One of the things that I wanted to do this year is really do large scale 3D printing sculptures and leverage AM for that. Look at the costing compared to other technologies, look at it to scale. So this is a good example of this, and I love this project. So I wanted to throw that in. On the left is how we pull it off the FDM, and on the right is how we finish it for reproduction. Sharing an example here for metals additive manufacturing and a fine art sculpture that I did this year. So really challenging the constraints of traditional manufacturing on this sculpture. We have a geometry on this stem that in aluminum cast, which is what the rest of the sculpture is made out of. In aluminum cast, just did not have the strength to hold this heavy weight flower bloom that it needed to be supporting. And so I leveraged steel powder bed fusion machine to run the stems, hold that large weight bloom. It's a pretty simple geometry, but it's been a great way for me to experiment with metals. They come out with really nice surface, great accuracy, and I'll clean these up and paint them, put them together on the painted structure. Definitely using production use, had some production use projects. And I'm seeing this a lot in wearables and fashion and footwear as well. My own personal example of this is a 3D stereoscopic camera rig that I worked on last year, where the objective was to build a custom camera housing. They're typically done in aluminum. They need the superior strength to hold all the mechanisms inside, but it had to be lightweight because it's a handheld camera and it has to be held. Tolerance, accuracy was important for all the fixturing and adding parts, and also a good surface finish, because it's always about surface finish, even on objects that people aren't necessarily going to see. So the solution for that was we replaced the heavyweight aluminum housings with additive nylon carbon fiber. And I used two different technologies. I used my Stratasys FDM and Mark Forge X7 CFF using the nylon 12 carbon fiber for the housings, and then onyx, and we reinforced that with carbon fiber and Kevlar on certain pieces to add strength here. A super fun project. But again, this is exciting. Production use projects are exciting for me, and I've seen a lot of great examples in creative fields. And so it's been exciting to see other innovative women and companies leveraging AM for production projects. Partnerships and networks. I mean, in my business, it's so important to establish good partners and good networks and people who will support you. I am a Stratasys preferred service provider and engage with their application engineers and the community, the service community at large there. I think having a good relationship with your materials suppliers and your manufacturing companies really helps you stay involved in what's the latest innovation. They support you to kind of push the boundaries of the machine. And Stratasys has a great group over there that has supported me with training, learning opportunities, and use cases for both material and applications. So critical to my success. And also women in 3D printing. I mean, it's been a game changer for me to be involved. I proudly serve as the Los Angeles chapter ambassador for the last 2 years, and have worked to support and bring together a community in the LA area and of course, worldwide as the organization grows. It can be difficult and isolating to find yourself as the only woman in a very male-dominated field, and connecting with other women has been motivation and inspiration for me to continue following my passions and not becoming discouraged. You have to have mentors. You have to have champions, and the Women in 3D Printing Network has really given me that, and I've built relationships, you know, beyond what I ever had expected for the organization. It has truly been special in that way. The community is amazing. It's important to try. I mean, for me, it's important to try and inspire people to be great in whatever they want to do. It's rewarding. It takes me away from the grind of day-to-day business and makes it meaningful and purposeful. So encouraging everyone to get involved in a community where they can get support and they can find champions in their relative industries. Okay, well, I just jammed through that pretty quick. I'm going to take questions. Oops. I'm going to take questions on my own. Call out for Sarah if I need help. Let's see. Okay. All right. So first question: how does 3D printing working with complementary technologies help creative designs in new ways of approaching design? Well, I think that, you know, it definitely streamlines your design process. So if I can you know, if we can take something that's hand sculpted and leverage scanning technology to create digital data, we can build digital libraries. We can quickly reiterate on design, scale, change features, repose. That helps us approach design in a more efficient way. Let's see. How was your experience with large-scale FDM? I have been extremely impressed with large-scale FDM. I am interested in large format printing. And so I'm always looking for, you know, who's building a large platform FDM machine or SLA machine or something along that lines. But it was a good experience. Accuracy. It was the first time that I had programmed and worked in a 20 thou resolution layer. And so I was kind of expecting there to be a lot of post-process, but it was very clean, very accurate. And it didn't take that long to print. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. What kind of surface finishings are available for flexible TPU filaments? FDM printed, is that possible? That's a good question. I think that it's something that I'm exploring as well. So, you know, typically TPU is you can't paint. I have dyed and used flexible paints, but you can't really use sort of hard coatings like chromes or golds, things like that, because they crack. What are some materials or processes coming down the pike for your applications that you're excited about? I'm definitely looking for more opportunities to incorporate metals into my projects. So looking at metals and that intersection. Let's see, materials. I'm following sustainability and the materials and sustainability. I'd like to know and I'd like to benefit more from sustainable materials and leverage them because we do a lot of bespoke and custom items. I'd like to eliminate as much waste and impact that the plastics business has. And let's see, materials and processes, many. We'll touch on the additive because that's sort of fresh in my mind. How do different surface finishes enable different projects? So how do different surface finishes enable different projects? Well, I think that your approach to surface finishing a project kind of depends on how large it is. If it's a smaller part versus if it's a larger part, how it's built, where it originates from. And I think that when you can create something beautiful in a different way, that's always kind of the goal, right? Let's see. Have you ever worked with ceramic AM? I haven't worked with ceramics, but it is something that I want to learn more about. I have reached out to some ceramics colleagues within Women in 3D Printing and could kind of get their experience. I absolutely think that there is an application for it in fine art. And I'd like to do more with that. I've been looking at the clay potter, the 3D plotter, some of the other machines that are available, and looking at that and what the burnout and fire requirements are. I think it's really interesting to see artists using 3D printing in ceramics to create their pieces, and really pushing the materials that they're using and the works that are coming out of that. From Barbara, which fine artists have you worked with? I have worked with several LA-based artists. Mark Whalen, he's LA-based, but he's actually Australian. The project that I showed in here was from LA-based artist Mike Lee. Who else? I am working on a project with Fabio Napolini right now. Let's see. Anybody else popping to mind? I think as far as like true fine artists, those are kind of the most recent ones that I've worked with. Brant and Kathy Peters in New Mexico. Let's see. Next question is, do you see AM being integrated into education for prop making and creative work, or is there a general adherence to more traditional methods? I think there is a lot of master patterns and a lot of props being created using AM. It is just kind of a go-to for mold and casting, because you can build anything. I know a lot of props are still generally made in traditional methods, handmade or CNC milled. And I think it's kind of half and half. I think everybody kind of has their niche. Education-wise, it is being, I'm not sure how, what the methods are that are being taught for prop making, because I didn't go to school for any of it. I really learned everything through master craftsmen and women who have taught me everything, and then just colleagues in the business and have shared ideas. I know that they teach mold making and model making in fine arts school, but I think it would be great. I think that every architectural school and every art school should be leveraging 3D printing. Okay, that is my final question. Thank you all for joining me. It's my pleasure to be in the company of everyone, and I will be on the main stage if you want to connect later.
Hey, fantastic. Thank you, Lindsey, so much for sharing your expertise.
Thank you.
All of your great interaction with our questions today. We had some really good ones. And I think we all really loved seeing the projects that you're working on.
Cool, thanks.
Some of the comments about them as well. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And everyone, please do find Lindsey later on our networking floor. And thank you again. We'll be back in just a few minutes with our next presentation here on the People stage.